Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you have difficulties drawing white whiskers, then you've clicked on the right video. My name is Dragos Pepina and in this tutorial I will show you how to draw white whiskers in 6 very simple and quick ways. Without further ado, let's get down to business. The first way is by using a white pencil. I started out by filling in this rectangle using a black pencil from Caran d'Ache. I chose this brand of pencils because of its charcoal-like consistency, being quicker to cover the surface of the paper. First of all, make sure the tip of the white pencil is very sharp for the best result. It is best to try to make the whiskers in one continuous stroke to get the same thickness overall. What helps me the most is to keep the whole forearm on the table and make the movement only from the wrist without moving the rest of the arm at all. Press as hard as you can to get the whitest whisker, but be careful not to press so hard that you break the tip of the pencil. The second way consists of using an embossing stylus pen. This method is known as indenting, which means creating deep valleys in the paper that block the shading to pass over. The result is a parallel sided line with a sharpness that erasing cannot obtain. Press as hard as you can to get as deep as a line as you can to block out any pencil strokes that will follow. For the greatest accuracy, hold the tool as close to the tip as possible. To highlight the lines I just made, I will draw over with a black pencil, trying to press as hard as possible. These black strokes represent the fur that will be drawn depending on what you are working at the moment. This is one of the easiest and most satisfying results guaranteed when drawing white whiskers. Besides being very easy to do, it will take away a lot of the stress we all have when drawing an animal, and at the end, when it comes time to draw the whiskers, we don't know if they will come out realistically or the same thickness. If we use this method from the beginning, we will draw the fur over, and in the end, the whiskers will come out without much effort. Method number 3 is using a white gel pen. First of all, I want to mention that not all white gel pens are archival, so there is a high risk of yellowing over time, so please keep this in mind if you sell the artwork or it is a commission. As with the method using a white pencil, I advise you strongly to try to create the whisker in one go. If with the white pencil you had to do a quick and high pressure move, here is the opposite. Take your time and press the gel pen just enough to let the gel flow onto the paper. Of course, as you can see in my demo, I didn't get it right from the first time either, which is why I went back over the line one more time, being careful to follow the same direction as before. This is one of my favorite methods when creating wildlife art, just to get prints out of it, not to sell the original. To refine the whiskers, I went back with a very sharp black pencil and, drawing around them, made them thinner and more even. Take your time to avoid completely covering part of the whisker. If you want them even whiter, you can go over them again with the gel pen. Tool number 4 is the pen eraser. These erasers are very beneficial in creating details. They can be found in many shapes, especially with a rounded tip. I decided to use the one with a rectangular tip, cutting the top in a V shape to get a sharp point. This method requires a lot of pressure and going back over the line several times. Before each erase, you really need to clean the tip because that's where all the black pigment from the pencil will collect, and you risk covering up everything you've done before, or even worse, smudging the paper, which is a very hard thing to remove from my own experience. Because some lines came out too thick, I needed again my essential assistant, the black pencil. By using it, I reduced and corrected the thickness. This step is not necessary if you got the desired thickness and shape from the beginning. Because I wasn't happy with the density of the white I got, I turned to my must-have assistant number 2, the white pencil, to fix that. With a lot of pressure, I filled in those gaps and unevenness, getting a better line. Let's move on to way number 5, the white acrylic. You will also need a brush with a very fine tip. This method is very close to the white gel pen technique and the end result is very similar. Again, my advice is to try your best to create the whiskers in one go. Avoid pressing too hard or lifting the brush during the move to keep away from creating a line too thick or wiggly. As you can see in my demo, I made the mistake of mixing the acrylic with too much water, ending up with an almost translucent line, actually making my job harder because it took another turn or two to go over the strokes. Don't worry if they came out too thick or uneven, as we will correct them immediately. Now it's time to fix those lines we've been shaking our hand at or pushing too hard. As in the previous methods, I patiently drew around the strokes until the desired shape was reached. Here we are at the last method using an Exacto knife. For this method to succeed, you need to have at least 2 or 3 layers down, otherwise you won't be able to remove the pencil pigment. An Exacto knife is a blade mounted on an aluminium pen-like body used for crafts and hobbies. It is very cheap and handy. This method involves scraping off all the previous layers of the pencil until the original color of the paper is reached, which will also give us the white color of the whiskers. Don't press too hard to avoid scratching the paper or patching it. Go over the line several times with gentle pressure to remove as much pigment as possible. This is my favorite method when drawing pet portrait commissions because I can just go over everything I've done before and have very thin whiskers in the end without much effort. For this technique to be complete, you must necessarily use a white pencil on top because scraping off the pigment is not enough to create white whiskers that stand out. So, with a lot of pressure and trying to stay within the perimeter of the line, I went over once more. Finally, after a little retouching with the black pencil, I think they turned out pretty good. If you succeed to get them right in one go, in all 6 ways, heads off to you because that's very hard to achieve. Now we came to an end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it and you've learned a lot from it. I am posting 1 time a week and normally graphite, color pencil or pastel related videos, so if you don't want to miss any of those, please hit that subscribe button and the bell button as well to be notified every time a video goes live. And I really hope I'm going to see you in the next one as well. Have a nice day. Bye guys!